what's happening, and I'm just checking to make sure that wonderful. So we are live now. Want to welcome everybody. We're going to give people a few minutes to pop on. And while we're waiting for everybody, please take a moment to let us know where you're coming to us from. I'm watching the numbers go up. I'm watching the number of people who have already tuned in, pop in. So when you come on, let us know where you're coming into the live stream from so that myself and Mary Susan know who you're representing. All right. I happen to be in Connecticut. I'm in Woodstock, Connecticut. We were just discussing that when we went live. And Mary Susan, you said you're in Colorado Springs, right?
I am, yes.
Okay. We've got North Carolina in the building, I see, with Jessica. And you should start to see those popping up over in the column over here before I make that switch over. So Ohio, good. All right. I'm watching the numbers rest. Washington State, New York here. Okay, Texas. Texas is being represented. More Ohio. Good. Excellent. Okay, getting some good diversity. Vancouver, Canada.
Wow.
Awesome. I've always wanted to go to Vancouver. That's one part of Canada I haven't been to yet. My family, I have a lot of Quebecois in my family. And when we go visit, of course, that's all around Montreal. Kentucky, Tennessee. Excellent. For those folks who are already in, we're going to give latecomers a little bit of time. Sometimes people have set their alarms and they're a little late getting on board. So before we dive into any of the meat, just want to give people a few minutes to hop on board, especially those people who have been homeschooling today and they're trying to shoo their kids away from the computer right now. Georgia, Indiana, we got a lot of Texas in the building. You do hire in Texas, right?
We do. We're based in Texas.
Texas. Well, there you go. There you go. I guess that answers my question. Watching in Utah, excellent. Hi, Sabrina. Lots of Florida showing up too. Georgia.
Great.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Okay, and I'm seeing our Working Solutions folks popping up on there too. Excellent. All right, good. Thanks for waiting and understanding. Absolutely, Latasha. I think most of us are stay-at-home or work-at-home parents, and if not, we've all been there and done that. Or if not parents to kids, there's parents to pets and parents to parents in some cases, and so we all know what it's like to be sometimes a little late to the keyboard. No worries. Yolanda, you work for Working Solutions. Well, that's terrific. Okay, good. Excellent. All right. So without further ado, let's dive in. For those of you who don't know me, you probably, if you're a regular to the Rat Race Rebellion site, you see my name around. I'm Christine Durst, Chris. My mother calls me Christine when she's mad at me, so it's Chris for everybody else. And I'm a co-founder with Michael Herron of Rat Race Rebellion. With me here today, we have Mary Susan Costa, and she is with Working Solutions. And she's here today to answer all of the questions that you might have about getting started with the company, what they do, where they contract from, and everything else. And Mary is the director of Virtual Talent, and that would be you. Everybody who's here in the comment section tonight and watching, you are the virtual talent. So Mary, I'm going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself, a little bit about how you began with Working Solutions, and if you're working from home. I believe you are. You mentioned that the company's in Texas and you're in Colorado. So take the floor. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, I will. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me here today. In fact, Working Solutions has a very long relationship with Rat Race Rebellion, and I'm really excited to be here for this event today. I feel like we've both been in this since almost the beginning of what is work from home.
Definitely.
As Chris said, my name is Mary Susan Costa. I've been with Working Solutions for over 15 years, and I lead the virtual talent team here at Working Solutions. Our team is, exactly as Chris said, it's managing the virtual talent, which means that anyone who applies at Working Solutions starts with our team, and really our team follows them through from applying to programs to interviewing, selecting, and ultimately making job offers and getting people working from home or working from home with Working Solutions in addition to whatever else they're doing. We're going to be talking about quite a few things today. I'm really excited to share Working Solutions with all of you. And I'm also excited to talk about one of our really hot topics, or one of our hot clients right now, which is TurboTax. So we're ramping up for tax season, which starts soon and goes through April 15th, and it will be very, very hot at Working Solutions.
Excellent. Unfortunately, that's one of those good news, bad news things. That means tax season is coming up and we have to pay, but it also means that you can make money. So that's a good thing, right?
Yes, it is.
So
yes,
we'll
it is.
definitely take that. How long have you been with Working Solutions?
I have been with Working Solutions for over 15 years. I actually started as a contractor myself.
Okay.
I have been working from home the whole time. So this is not new to me. I know it's new to a lot of people, but we've been doing this for a very long time, myself included.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. I have a list of questions for you. So I'm hoping nothing catches you off guard. I don't think it will after 15 years with the company. And certainly after looking at, I'm sure, thousands of applications a week. I don't think I can ask you anything you're not prepared to answer. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So first, how would you describe the corporate culture at Working Solutions? What's it like to work with them?
The corporate culture at Working Solutions, I have to say, is one that you won't find anywhere else. That is what makes us who we are. We have contractors all over the country, and we refer to them as agents. So you'll hear me say agents and contractors. Our agents are family. They really are. We use online resources because we are work at home. We have always been work at home. And we use those online resources to keep in touch, encourage each other, feel close to each other, even though we are spread all over the country. Everybody is a person. There are no numbers. Everybody's an individual, and we value our agents greatly, and we want them to succeed in their work lives, in their home lives, really in all aspects. And you may hear us referred to as the woohoo crew. There are a lot of woohoos that go around Working Solutions. I encourage people to go to Glassdoor, go to our Facebook page, and there you can hear about our culture from our own agents, not just from me.
Excellent. And we do that at Rat Race Rebellion. Anybody who frequents our site, as I'm sure a lot of the people who were in the comments tonight do, we do a lot of cross-referencing using Glassdoor and Indeed. We've spent a lot of time looking at feedback from current and past contractors and employees with various companies. So that's part of our vetting process, and you need to get that feedback. So I'm glad that you're throwing that out there. So my next question, what makes Working Solutions superior to work with? There are a lot of options out there when it comes to customer service type work or customer care. So why Working Solutions?
Why Working Solutions? I would start again with the culture that we just talked about. It makes us different, and I would say it makes us superior to many of our competitors. It's really easy to become an island when you're working from home. You are your own person. You're doing your thing day in, day out. You're at home. You're by yourself often. But at Working Solutions, you're not. Again, getting back to our agent community, we really like to engage each other, the employees and contractors alike. While we aren't necessarily in an office together, we have a virtual office where we chat, we keep up with things personally and professionally. So that it makes us very different. And we want all of our agents to be successful. We have lots of tools and people and processes, guidance to help support people in their work at home careers. And another reason that I would say we're superior to work with is we have been there and we have done that. In fact, next year we will be celebrating our 25th anniversary.
That's awesome. And you said that you've been virtual all along. This isn't,
Yes.
there are a lot of companies that right now are struggling to do virtual because it's something that they had to do when COVID started.
Yes.
And they've had to do it a little bit in the past with swine flu and bird flu and, you know, weather related things. But it's episodic for them. They start it and then they stop it. And so for 25 years, you've been doing the work from home thing as an organization. So I imagine the processes are pretty smooth at this point.
They are. And we'll talk about that, I bet, later on.
I'm sure we will. So that tells me a little bit about what it's like if you're a contractor or an employee for Working Solutions from a client or a customer perspective. So in other words, so that people understand the business model, there are companies that come to Working Solutions and they say, like TurboTax, we have a need for customer service agents or tech support agents or whatever it is that they need at any given time. So they are your customer. And then you with folks who are working from home, and they are going to be taking calls for your customers. So what do you Solutions, what makes you unique and impressive to them?
To put myself in some of our clients' shoes, I would say they work with us because our agents are the best. They're professionals. They are truly representing our clients' brands. And that is why our clients come to us. A lot of clients come to us for gap coverage. You were just mentioning the swine flu and different things. When clients come to Working Solutions, and many of them have commented on this in the past, we're able to provide gap support when they're not even expecting it. For example, travel clients who are suddenly having to reroute people because of a hurricane or something like that. And maybe their call center is in fact in that path of the hurricane.
Okay.
Their employees need to go home and get out, but we can cover for them.
Okay.
So that makes us unique in the options that we're able to give to our clients. That may not be why they came to us in the first place, but that is one of the benefits that we can give to them. They like our people. They like our people. They like our processes. And in fact, we have a number of clients who have come to us because they've been referred by existing clients.
Excellent.
So we have an interesting referral network within our own client community.
That's great. Positive word of mouth speaks volumes.
Yes.
I mean, you can advertise until the cows come home, and that's wonderful. But positive word of mouth from other folks who are using you is always, that's when people say, I refer all my friends and family to Rat Race Rebellion. That makes my heart sing, because I know that you don't refer organizations to people that you care about lightly.
Right.
So I think that speaks volumes. So you've been using the word contractor. And so that brings me to my next question. And that's what type of work status are the folks who apply to be agents? Are they applying to be employees or independent contractors?
They are applying to be independent contractors. Yes. Independent business owners, 1099 contractors, independent contractors. They're all the same terminology for someone who's really managing themselves.
Okay. All right. So, and that means they're coming with their own equipment.
They are.
And they're essentially getting the work is coming from you, at least for this particular account of theirs. And a lot of independent contractors work with multiple companies.
Mhm.
That's the nature of being self-employed. So you might start working or contracting to Working Solutions, but you also have other clients. And
Yes.
do you have non-competes? Do you have in terms of, let's say that I start contracting with Working Solutions because I'm self-employed.
Mhm.
What are my obligations to you? What can I do? What can I not do in terms of working with other organizations?
Well, you are an independent contractor, so you may have other lines of business with other companies, and we're okay with that. In fact, we encourage that. That is our model. As an independent business owner, we want you to do what you need to do to grow your business and make it successful. That often does mean contracting with multiple companies. Conversely, our own agents, they can be contracted with multiple clients of Working Solutions. So they may expand their business within Working Solutions. They may choose to expand it across multiple work at home providers.
Excellent. That was exactly the answer I was hoping you were going to give. Because there are some organizations out there that they hire people as independent contractors, but then they say, but you can't work with these other companies or with
Right.
other companies that do this or that. And so as independent contractor, as companies that contract go, to me, that's it's really important. And I love that there's that respect for the contractors themselves, where you're saying, look, we know we're bringing you on as a business owner. So grow your business. Yes,
Mhm.
work with us, do your best for us, but grow your business. We get it.
Yes.
So it's a business to business relationship,
Mhm.
which is really unique from a business to an employee relationship. And I love that you guys grasp that so fully. I think that's awesome.
Yes, and you mentioned something that I'd like to point out. You mentioned, I think you even said, bring your own device.
Yes.
But that's something that we do want to point out to people, especially on today's event, is that if you're applying with Working Solutions and you're applying to be a contractor, you are bringing your own device. We're not providing the equipment, and that is not unique to our model, but it is unique to people who are finding themselves suddenly in the work at home job search,
Yes.
where they've
Yes.
been in bricks and mortar centers or buildings with their equipment provided. So that is
Right.
a little bit different for people.
Yeah, and of course, without getting off into, I'm not an accountant and I'm not a tax attorney, but I think it's really important at this juncture to also mention to people that when you're an independent contractor, there are some amazing tax write-offs that come from that. Employee, the idea of being self-employed might be a little daunting. But when you start to look at the perks of being self employed, if it's right for you, there are a lot of really cool things that come along with it. And I've been in self employed since the mid 90s, I believe. So I'm old. But I've been working virtually for a very long time, and for myself. And I'm the hardest person I've ever worked for, but I can't imagine working for anybody else at this point. So. So tell me a little bit about the nature of the work. You've alluded to it already. We've talked a little bit about TurboTax, um, but you did also mention that people can work on multiple accounts. So what does that mean, and what kind of work?
So, in terms of the nature of the work, it really does vary. We have quite an array of clients, and they have quite an array of needs. Our model leans a little bit more towards seasonal, high volume support. That's why a lot of clients come to us to provide gap coverage. But on the other hand, we have many ongoing years long clients who have partnered with us instead of having in-house contact center support. The work types focus on excellent customer service. Others are more sales driven, and quite a few of them are a blend of both types of work. Regardless whether it's customer service or sales, it is contact center work. So we are interfacing with customers, typically over the phone. Sometimes there's some chat, sometimes there's some email, but the bulk of it is over the phone service.
Okay. But I'm glad you mentioned that because there are a lot of people who ask, do you have just chat? Do you have just chat? And it's a hard kind of work for people to find. And I know that there are a lot of folks out there who maybe have little kids who are making a lot of noise in the background and they feel that chat would be the best option for them. But I think I always try to stress to people, and I know it's hard right now with a lot of kids being home from school, that working from home is not a replacement for childcare. And it's not, because it's not fair to you or the person, the company you're contracting to, or your kids for that matter.
Right.
So, it's always good to try to find that balance. So yeah, but the chat, I'm glad you brought that up because it can be difficult to find that straight up chat, but it sounds like you might have it sometimes.
We do. To date, it is not its own type of support. It is typically we're looking for a person who's primarily able to be on the phone, taking those customer inquiries and providing supplemental support with chat and email. So they're providing the same service to the same customer base for the same client, just a different mode. But those modes are not the volume that the phone is.
So the ratio is always going to lean heavily phones,
Yes.
while there might be a blend. Okay,
Yes.
Excellent. What kinds of industries will your home-based contractors be supporting? You mentioned TurboTax.
Industries.
I know you can't always mention brand names. Like I know you were able to mention TurboTax, and that's one of the things that companies are like, don't mention our name. But maybe you can let us know a little bit about the fields, the industry.
I can talk industries.
Okay.
Yes, I can. I can
that.
tell you we do tax support, and you may already know who we do that with. That's TurboTax. But we're in the elder care support industry, insurance, real estate, travel and hospitality, fitness and sports, education consulting, and lots of retail. So it really runs the gamut. We have something for everybody.
Okay. And when you say retail, that brings me back to your last answer to my question where you said there may be a cross-pollination of customer service and sales. Do some of those, is there some upselling involved in some of the
Yes, there can be in really in all of those.
Okay.
They're all in business. Obviously, they need to not only service their customers, but they need to grow their businesses. So many of them do have a sales aspect, not your outbound hard sales kind of thing, though.
Right. It's not telemarketing. It's just it's more of a, since you're getting this, a lot of our customers who get this also get this.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
We're all used to that on the buying end of things. So that's pretty soft pedal. Okay. That's good. I'm cool with that.
We are too.
I'll let that go. All right. So who's your ideal candidate? So in other words, what kinds of traits do they embody, and what your most successful contractors, what are they like?
Our most successful contractors are the people who are truly motivated to work from home. That is maybe not a skill set, but it is a trait. People need to be independent to work at home because you don't have a supervisor checking on you or checking in on you and making sure you're ready to work, making sure you're on time. It takes the right person to be successful working at home, and it isn't for everyone. We all know that. That's not to discourage anyone, but people need to be first and foremost motivated to work from home and to make it work. And in today's environment, in the pandemic, that's more prevalent than ever because so many people are working from home when they didn't expect to be. And it is a shift. It is a big shift. So we're looking for people who are self-driven. They have some grit. They really want to get it done, and they're able to get it done on their own. Again, without somebody pushing and prodding, because there's not someone in your home saying, "Oh, it's time to get to work. You need to go get to
that reminds me, there's an audience that Mike and I work with a lot, and that's the military spouse community, because they are they're trailing spouses, for lack of a better term. They're trailing spouses, and so a lot of them are looking for portable careers. And you're posted, or you're living here. I go to my military language. You're living in Colorado Springs, which of course is a heavily saturated military community. So are you? I would imagine you're probably actively hiring military spouses because it's an excellent portable career for them. Is that a correct assumption?
That is a correct assumption. We love military spouses. I have felt for many, many years that this is a great fit for military spouses because they do need something that is portable. It's difficult when you're moving frequently to secure a job, and that employer may know that you'll only be there for a year or two. Whereas with this opportunity, these jobs, you can take them with you. They move when you move. They're flexible in terms of scheduling, and our military spouses they are the CEOs of their household, and they are busy people. They are very busy.
They are.
They've got what we want in terms of skills and drive, but they also need to be able to be flexible.
Exactly. That's their lifestyle. And, Mike and I have said that for all the years we've been working with the military community, with military spouses in particular, that even if you're not an entrepreneur, if you're not a born entrepreneur, the moment you become a military spouse, you have to adapt. You become entrepreneurial just in your lifestyle. So I think that's really cool. I'm really glad that you guys are, that you're looking at them as a great community to tap into, because they embody all of those ideal candidate traits that you just mentioned. So I think that's terrific. I'm really glad that you have the door open there. Okay, tell me a bit about the application screening and interview process. So, by the way, for everybody who's watching, you might see that there's a crawler across the bottom of the screen. That's the URL or the website address that you should go to apply. I would strongly encourage you, if you're hearing things that you like during the course of this live, apply tonight. Don't put it off, because tomorrow, when you wake up with the best of intentions, who knows what's going to be happening. And then before you know it, it's Thanksgiving. And then after Thanksgiving, it's Black Friday. And then the kids are all hyped up about Christmas. And then before you know it, it's the new year, and you still haven't done anything about finding that job or that work situation that you've been looking for. So just do it. Get the process started. And that URL that's scrolling across the bottom of the page is the place to start. So once I do that, Mary Susan, what happens?
Once you do that, well, that's step one. Step one is going to that URL and registering on our website. Take note of that URL that's in the crawler. That's important. After you register on our website, you'll be prompted both on screen and by email to complete our assessments. Those are online. They take maybe 45 minutes if you're going very, very slowly and being very, very careful. It doesn't necessarily take that long. But our assessments are a great way to go, because within our assessments, we have 2 video questions that are real job samples. They are modeled after 2 of our real clients, and we want people to see what they're going to be expected to do in this role. And it's a way to show us that you have those skill sets, you have that aptitude. It's also a way for us to show you what you'll be doing. Some people deselect themselves at that point, and that's okay. But we want people to understand what this is, what it means to work at home and work for Working Solutions. So that's step 2, are the assessments. It's a little bit more than maybe you wanted to know about the assessments, but
Yeah, but that's perfect.
we feel it's important.
Yeah.
Once people complete the assessments, then they are invited by email to join our applicant portal. And that's a little more exclusive than, I would say, our website, because you have to have passed a couple of phases of the application. Once you get into our applicant portal, we're asking people to do things like finish their profile, which is their application. Upload a resume again if you like, or for the first time if you haven't. Tell us more about your experience, your industries, any certifications you have. And then from there, that device that we talked about earlier, that bring your own device, there's a short technical scan where each applicant scans their device to make sure that it meets our technical requirements, because there are a few technical requirements that each person has to meet just to make sure your speed is fast enough and your computer is new enough. It may sound like a lot, but it's really not. It goes all very quickly. Once a device is certified, then applicants have access to our full applicant portal, and that's where the real meat of our jobs are listed. We'll have client logos, many of which will be very recognizable. Client logos, client names, descriptions, hours of operation, pay, and also important are the schedules of the education that you'll be subject to if you join one of those client programs. So that's the application process. It's multiple steps. It all flows very quickly. From there, oh, go ahead. Did you have a question?
No, I was going to say, I think that when you're talking about the training, that's going to bring me to my next question, which is about the onboarding and training process. But go ahead and finish up what you're talking about the application.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm still talking about our applicant portal because that's really where the meat of our selection process happens. Within those job descriptions, we do show the training schedule, which you said you'll ask me more about in a minute.
I will.
But from there, we want applicants to take a look at the jobs that we have open. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 5. It varies. It varies by client need. But regardless, you as an applicant, you can read about all the different items, all the different requirements, decide what you want to apply to do. And your responses then are sent on to our team, our virtual talent team, where applicants are then reviewed and invited to interview and move on ultimately to receive job offers. That interview may be a phone interview, it may be a video interview, it depends on the client.
Excellent. Excellent. Now I'm going to ask you about the training. All right. So I've made it through all of that process. You've decided that you would like a business to business relationship with me. So what does the onboarding process look like? What do I need to do to train, say, to be ready to work on the TurboTax account?
Okay. Well, we have an onboarding team that helps our new agents along their journey to becoming a Working Solutions agent, which goes from the time of accepting an offer until they get into class to be ready for a client. So our onboarding team helps from a technical perspective. They help people get their computers set up, get ready to have the client systems or anything that they need to be ready technically. Then our education team takes over, and our agents go through largely classroom style learning, and all of our education specialists are professional educators. So you asked earlier, what makes us different? That's one of the many ways that we're different, is we have professional educators teaching all of our classes and getting all of our agents up to speed and ready to go. So our education cycle looks different than a lot of other competitors.
And all of the training is online. It's all virtual. Nobody's going into centers somewhere. Your training is from home, just like your work is from home?
It is. It's all virtual. Some of it is face-to-face as it can be virtually. It's WebEx and things like that. It's very interactive, highly interactive, highly engaging.
Good. Awesome. And you talked about being able to work with multiple clients at times if you're inclined to do that. So let's say I come through and the account that I've selected through the agent portal is TurboTax. Mm-hmm. Do I train for one at a time? Do I get certified for one at a time? Or can I do them in tandem? How does that work?
You typically learn one at a time.
Okay.
Because our education classes, they're very condensed. There's a lot of material in a short amount of time. It's extremely efficient, but it is extremely intense. Okay. So we ask our agents to go through a class, get on the phones, get really familiar with the calls and the call types and the clients, and get to where it's just second nature before adding another client.
Okay, that makes sense. When I asked the question, I didn't think about that, but of course, you don't want to cross-pollinate between the clients. Start giving an answer that would be appropriate for one customer and not for another. So that makes sense. Um, so, okay, wonderful. Then let me move on to my next question. You probably noticed that they're all going up on the screen, and that's because I have a list for you. And by the way, for those of you who are in the chat, there are two folks from Working Solutions, as you've probably already noticed, who are working diligently to answer your questions over there. So they're able to answer any questions that Mary, Susan, and I are not already addressing, or that you might have missed if you came in late to the live. So ask away over there, because you're definitely going to get the answers that you're looking for. And if they're not already doing so, their names are Angie and Lisa, and I encourage them to plug that URL that's crawling across the bottom of the screen into those comments as well, so that you folks who are watching can click through and get over to apply and sort of start that process that Mary Susan is talking about right now. So next steps, we go through all of that. What do the schedules look like?
Well, ultimately, our hours are 24/7.
Okay.
Of course, that spans multiple clients. More specific schedules vary by program, of course. Each client has their own hours of operation that they have asked us to cover. As far as what kind of a schedule can contractors expect, it does depend on the program, but then it depends on them, because our contractors, our agents, choose their own schedules, and they do that weekly. So what you may need to work this week might look different than what you need to work next week. So as a contractor on a specific client program, you choose, but then you're expected to fulfill that commitment, which goes back to, you have to be motivated to work from home. You will be choosing your own schedule, and then you'll need to work that schedule. So
I'm smiling because you're hitting all the right marks. And that might sound funny, but not every company that works with independent contractors hits all those marks. And the IRS has a very fine line between what identifies somebody as an independent contractor and what identifies somebody as an employee. And one of those things is being able to work when you want to work. So you gave exactly the right answer for that question. So I'm putting you on the spot, and you're doing well.
I'm glad.
So, I was waiting to say, aha, but nope, you got me. But I knew that because we've been working with Working Solutions for a long time. And so many rebels are already working very happily with you.
Yes.
It's always good to hear it confirmed. So let's talk about compensation. Again, I know people are independent contractors. That means they're 1099s. You're not going to be offering benefits or withholding taxes or any of that. But there is, I would imagine, a published hourly rate for each client, each customer. Is that right?
There is a published rate for each customer, correct. We actually pay by the minute, which sounds a little strange. It looks different to people. But we do that because we go back to the fact that our contractors can choose their own schedules, and they can choose very small increments of time. So someone may be able to squeeze in 15, 20, 30 minutes of time. Hence, we pay by the minute. Now, we do equate that to hourly rates because most people are used to hearing, I'm going to earn this per hour or this per hour. So when you equate it to an hourly rate, we have programs that pay between $12 to $18 an hour. Again, they're paying by the minute, but that's what the hourly equivalent is. And then there are incentives on top of those rates for many of our programs.
I was going to ask about that. So we talked a little bit about upsells. And so if somebody is hitting certain goals, are there certain customers that are setting goals? If you can achieve this, then you'll get a bonus, or you'll. Yes. Okay, all right, very cool.
Yeah, it varies by client. The more salesy programs, of course, as you can imagine, they would have more sales-oriented types of incentives. But some of our programs have incentives just based on which days they need people to work most. If Monday is a hot day, then they may offer incentives for working on Monday or Saturday or, you name it. They vary.
All right. So if I'm an independent contractor, I know which day I'm booking for. I'm working every Monday
Yes.
for as many hours as I can get. So that's good. Okay. So incentives, that's wonderful. It's nice to have a little bit of that on top, especially if you're particularly good at upsells. Now, this is always a tough question because we get a lot of questions, for example, from people in California saying, how come nobody contracts or hires in California? And the answer is because California is a hard state to work with.
Yes.
It's not you, believe me. There's not a company out there that contracts that doesn't want to hire people from California or from any other state for that matter. It's a ginormous state. Of course, you hate to not have the ability to tap into certain talent pools. That said, not every state is equally easy to work with. And so every customer and every company has a certain criteria by which they decide which states they can contract or hire from. I imagine Working Solutions does the same thing.
We do.
Okay.
And fortunately, our list of states that we do work with is very long. Unfortunately, California is not on that list. We do have 4 states that we're unable to accept applicants from. That's California, New York, Pennsylvania, and the state of Washington. So
Okay.
the others are great. Those 4 states have proven to be difficult to work with, as you mentioned.
Yeah. And it's not personal. I mean,
no, it's not. We would love to work in all those states.
If you look at the talent pool in just those 4 states that you mentioned, there are, I'm sure, many, many well qualified, very talented people that you would love to be able to bring into the fold. But until the tax laws or employment laws become more flexible in some states, it makes it really difficult for companies to work with them. And I always feel like I need to apologize because I wish we could find more jobs available for folks in certain states. But it really is sometimes like the proverbial needle in a haystack, and becoming increasingly so, unfortunately, in some states, as they try to protect workers from themselves.
Yeah.
So.
I tell people, contact your government, contact your senators, your congressmen. If you feel strongly about it, start there. It is not a decision that we have made lightly, nor have our competitors made lightly. But the biggest voice would be coming from those in those states who say, I want to work from home. I want to do this. And you need to make some changes.
Yeah, the voters have the strongest voice, unfortunately. Yeah, it is what it is, unfortunately. But we at Rat Race Rebellion, and I'm sure at Working Solutions and every other company that hires people to work from home, we're all waiting for that day when that floodgate opens and we're able to say, yes, now hiring in.
Yes.
But until then, hit your elected officials and just keep at them, because your voice does matter. All right, let's talk a little bit about, I know some of the questions that we get from people a lot is, can I work with a cell phone? Do I have to have a landline? Is wireless okay? So let's talk a little bit about those things. Do I need to have a landline?
Sure. No, you don't need to have a landline.
Woohoo! I just
you do, however, have to have a high enough internet speed to support calls coming in that way.
Okay. All right. And that brings me to my next question. Is it okay to use wireless internet, or do I need to be connected to my modem?
Well, it is necessary to be connected wired while working.
Okay.
Lots of people have wireless networks in their homes. I have one myself, but during work time, we ask our contractors to wire for quality and for security.
And for stability. That's right. Yeah. So, and I know a lot of people say, but I only have wireless, because they don't realize that they can just take that Ethernet cord and plug it right in. Right. So, yeah. And I figured that was going to be the answer, but it's always worth asking. So in your opinion, And based on feedback from your current employees, what are some of the things that make Working Solutions a great company to work for? And I know I'm circling back to that because you broached that at the beginning about a sense of community and everybody belonging. But I did want to ask you. You talked about people sort of networking with each other and that sense of community. Is there a hub where contractors can communicate with each other, or is the interaction between Working Solutions employees and the contractors? What is it that makes it so that I'm working alone, but I'm not alone?
Right. Well, yes. It does get back to our culture, our agent community. And our agent community they were a community before we had as many resources online as we do now, but we have more. We have our own community that we call the Vine, and that's where our employees and our contractors alike interact. They interact generally, and they interact with one another program specific. So the contractors who are on specific programs have their own separate rooms where they can talk to each other and get updates on their programs. But it's also it can be a very general water cooler-ish feeling place, and that's what really keeps people connected.
Excellent. My next question was, how can people apply? But I think that we've answered that question. You've answered that question. But circling back to the application process, since you are looking at so many of the applications, what suggestions do you have for smoothing the application process? If folks who are watching tonight want to apply, what can they do to grease the skids to help make sure that they're getting noticed? And also, what should they not be doing?
Sure. Well, I would encourage people to first slow down and read about us. Read about us on our website, read about us on Glassdoor, on our Facebook page. Make sure that this is what you want to do. We hope it is. We really hope this is what you want to do. But read about us, read the information. There are guidebooks all along the way. There are emails, there are screen pops for people who are applying. They give great information. And I know we all move so fast, all of us, myself included, that we forget to stop and look at the information that's being given to us to be helpful. So check that, check the website, check the screen pops as you're applying, check your email as you're applying, because you'll get emails along the way. And they'll guide you to the next step, give you information on your current step even. But as far as smoothing the application process, I would say that something I did want to mention too is be wary of fraud. And Chris, I know this is something very close to your heart, and you've
Definitely
a great number of these scams. People still take the names of good companies and they drag them around through the mud by scamming people and pretending to be with Working Solutions. It happens all the time. It happens on a regular basis. Know that when you're applying with Working Solutions, you're applying on our website. Make sure that you're doing that. Make sure that the emails are really Working Solutions emails. They're branded. They may not always be at workingsolutions.com, but they are properly branded. They're coming from us on behalf of us. Legitimate companies don't contact you through Facebook Messenger or Google Hangouts, and they don't direct message you on Instagram. So be sure that you are dealing with the real thing as you're going through your application.
So glad that you brought that up because we have seen a lot of companies that legitimately hire people to work from home whose names are grabbed by scammers and they'll send it, workingsolutions@gmail.com is not a legitimate Working Solutions address. So, and speaking of Gmail, remember when you apply for this or any other job, if you're waiting for an email and you haven't received it, check your promotions folder, check your spam folder, check your trash. Sometimes filters will peel out anything that has the phrase work from home in it because work from home is a phrase that's commonly used by scammers. So check those things before assuming that the company hasn't been back in touch with you. So many times people will write to us and say, I've applied to this company and they said they were going to get back in touch with me and they didn't. And then we tell people to check their spam folder and there it is.
Mhm.
So while you're saying this company hasn't gotten back in touch with me, the company is saying, this applicant hasn't gotten back in touch with us because it's sitting in a spam filter somewhere.
Yes.
So make sure that you do that. So I love those ideas, and definitely don't skim. It's an application process. If you really want it, don't skim. I'm guilty of skimming. I am that person who stops my microwave when there's 3 seconds left because I don't have the time for that.
Mhm.
Or I get impatient if the person in front of me is only driving the speed limit. We've all sort of fallen into that. Faster is better. And in a job application process, that definitely is not the case. So
Yeah.
my last question for you. What's the best advice? You've been with the company for a long, long time, and you see a lot of applications coming in. So what's the best advice you have for anybody who's interested in applying? And you just addressed some of that. Speed is not your friend. So watch out for scams. What's that final thought that you want to leave people with?
That final thought is, treat this job application as seriously as you would treat any job application. Put your best foot forward. Give us all the information that we need to know to meet you, to understand you. We won't meet you in person, so you have to virtually tell us who you are and why you're a fit for Working Solutions, why we're just going to be clamoring to have you working for us. That includes submitting a resume. Be sure you submit a resume. When you get to the various points of the application process, fill them all out. There are required fields and there are optional fields. Those optional fields will tell us a great deal if you fill them out. So just be sure that you give us all the information. We want to meet you, and the only way we can really understand who you are is by the information that you give us.
Excellent. Excellent. And we try to drive that point home on a regular basis, and I'm glad to hear you reiterate that as well. To us, we always tell people, if you can't pay attention to detail during the application process, there's no reason why an employer is going to assume that you'll pay attention to detail if they hire you. And attention to detail is critical in this and just about every other job that you can do from home. So
Yes.
attention to detail. All right. On that note, that's every question that I had for you, Mary Susan. You hit the ball out of the park. I didn't catch you with any zingers. And actually, I'm really pleasantly surprised with some of the answers. And so that's wonderful. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank all the folks who showed up for the live event. And also just a quick thank you to all of the thousands of people who I know will watch this in the coming days, who were unable to attend live tonight. Thank you to Lisa and Angie for manning the comments over there on behalf of Working Solutions on the Facebook page. We really appreciate it. And I hope that I'm going to be hearing some success stories coming out of Working Solutions from both the company and from our Rat Race Rebels. I know that we'll have a lot of folks who are jumping on board for TurboTax and other accounts that you're working with right now. Thank you so much. Everybody have a wonderful evening. We'll see you on the site soon. Bye-bye now.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.